Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Powell, and I am a doctoral student and a staff member at the University of Arkansas.
Hey, I'm Terrell Page. I'm a sophomore English education honors student at the University of Arkansas.
And today we are going to break away from the traditional poster presentation where we are covering African-American student experiences at the University of Arkansas, and instead share with you our culminating project for our course on B.A.D Times, which was a virtual tour documenting student experiences. You can find this complete tour at theclio.com, and we'll also make sure we share the link out in some capacity in our Zoom call. So in fall 2020, Provost Robinson's forum, B.A.D Times, which stands for Black Americans for Democracy, studied the historic and contemporary African-American student experiences at the University of Arkansas. 10 Honors College scholars, Terrell included, scoured archives, interviewed current students and alums, and collected stories. From integration through the viral Twitter campaign, #BlackAtUArk, these stories enrich our understanding of the Razorback family and its surrounding community. Trace the lasting legacy of B.A.D and its influence on today's student activists as it unfolds across campus. So we're going to get started.
So Nundy Hervey first began our tour where many prospective students on campus began theirs, Silas Hunt Hall. She compares the demands made by Black Americans for democracy in the 1970s to the demands we've seen in the past year from the Black Student Caucus here at the university. She says, generations of ignorance being passed down is what helped breed the hatred seen in the past as well as today. Invoking cultural change is no small feat, but it's not impossible either if we as a community work together to better educate ourselves and those around us. That's from Nundy Hervey.
Great. So looking out over much of our residential section of campus, Megan Rogers then shares with us the story of housing integration. Accidentally integrated by George Howard in 1951, the university was not aware they had accepted a Black man into their residence hall. So Megan tells us, quote, the integration of dorms did not ensure a welcoming environment for Black students. She also reminds us just how important it is to cultivate a true sense of community for all of our students here in this entry.
Next, our tour continues to Memorial Hall, where I talk about the community that Black students developed on campus in the 1970s. The first Black fraternity on campus, Omega Psi Phi, was begun by B.A.D students with the help of Dr. Gordon Morgan. These groups were about having fun, just being students on campus and celebrating the joy and freedom that can come with college. Today, Black students remain 4.5% of the campus population, so they continue to need ways of establishing community, preserving culture, and having a voice.
Absolutely. Thank you, Terrell. So while whiteness was and is very pervasive on our college campus, it's also evident in the built environment. So next stop is Nate Cole, who walks us down Maple Street to explore the plantation revival aesthetics of Greek life houses. Inspired by a tweet on the subject from the #BlackAtUArk Twitter campaign, Cole explores the ways in which many of our Greek houses are influenced and inspired by the romanticism of the antebellum South in the late 1800s, and he's got some photos here. So Nate Cole tells us, this is a small piece in the big picture of racism on our college campuses, but there is tangible evidence of this direct relationship between racist architecture and racist actions, unquote.
Next, several of our students explore various aspects of the protests surrounding the playing of Dixie at the Chi Omega Greek Theater in 1969. This protest ultimately led to the removal of the song Dixie. Ahmad, are we at his?
Yeah.
Ahmad Pace Jr. first kicks us off with an exploration of the protest through the eyes of Eugene Hunt, a member of B.A.D. Pace says that the protest that happened at this location proved to be crucial for the history and improvement of the university.
Definitely. We've got a few more entries that are covering this removal of Dixie. So next, Lydia Brashear shares with us the reaction of the band to the protest at the Greek Theater. Dialogue among Black and white students in the band led to conversations among the band that ultimately led to the ending of the playing of that song. So Brashear says there's no explicit rule against the song, but the song is no longer sung or played at events now. So she's really covering it from the band's perspective. And then next we have Anna Kate taking the perspective of the Dixie protest through the idea of the pervasive whiteness that was and is still, of course, part of our campus. So while the Black resistance is indeed the most important part of examining this protest, Anna Kate Dooley takes a hard look inside the white majority that often maintain these structures, systems, and racist traditions. Quote, the white student population was able to leverage their numbers and their privilege to manipulate a system that was specifically built to benefit them, says Dooley.
And while still at the Greek Theater, Sidney Nichols shares another University of Arkansas tradition with racist roots and implications.
Mm-hmm.
Beat Texas Week used to be an annual week of celebration leading up to the famed rivalry between Arkansans and Texas. Student leaders in B.A.D Times described the atmosphere of the week as one resembling the Civil War days, where jeers, insults, and even physical harm were regularly inflicted.
Yes, it's a terrifying experience. So we then move into, Caleb Manley moves us away from the Greek theater and into the integration of the School of Engineering. Manley specifically focuses on the experiences of Black student engineers, choosing to interview the first African-American female engineer, Dinah Gant, who I believe is pictured down here in some of these photos. There she is. He shares that, quote, she does believe that the minority engineering programs at the university could now be of great use to current African-American students. So he covers programs like ECAP and STEM is the New Black, which was begun by a University of Arkansas alum, and says that they speak to, quote, the building of a new culture that fully embraces change instead of grudgingly accepting it.
Finally, Smit Patel ends our tour with a look at Barnhill Arena and an exploration of the 2016 women's basketball team kneeling during the national anthem. Patel examines the protests and administrative response to the Black Americans for Democracy in the 1970s and compares it with the campus response when members of the women's basketball team chose to kneel to bring attention to unjust treatment of Black Americans by the police. Patel states, quote, we still have issues in our institutions and every student needs to know about these issues as they pass through the very same place where these women once kneeled, end quote. This idea of being aware of these issues in the place in which they happened led to the culmination of the tour and the students' hope for greater awareness, empathy, and change. Thank you, and we look forward to answering any questions on May the 18th.
Yes, absolutely. It was an amazing class. I was very honored to be the teaching assistant. I know Terrell has a lot of great things to share, thoughts and insights on the class itself, so we hope to see you on the 18th.